To you live from my apartment. It's Rob has a podcast, and now here's the guy who's about to go back to the Big Brother Canada 2 house to talk to somebody that we were very excited to talk to. I'm Rob Cesternino, and we have a great show for you. Special Big Brother Canada 2 coverage as we are now very close to the countdown to Big Brother US 16. So a very exciting time. First, let me introduce you to Brian Lynch. You know him. Brian, how are you doing?
I'm great, Rob. How are you?
I'm doing good. Brian, how are you filling the time in your Big Brother lull?
Going absolutely insane.
Counting down to Big Brother 16?
Yes.
All right.
Hoping, wishing, waiting.
Hearing any good rumors about Big Brother 16?
Hearing a lot of rumors, but who knows what's just made up and what's not. So rumors are rumors.
Yeah, I feel like if you are buying into any Big Brother 16 rumors you're hearing right now, then I have a bridge in Brooklyn that I want to sell you also.
Yeah, but I kind of expect to be some vets this season. But go ahead to introduce our guest.
All right, so let's go ahead and bring in another Big Brother veteran. Not going back just yet. Here she is for the first time on Rob Has a Podcast. Here is Neda Kalantar. Did I say that right, or I butchered it?
Nope, you butchered that.
It's like calendar, but with a T, right? Calendar?
Sure.
Okay, close
Kalantar.
enough. Kalantar. Okay, like the Amazing Race, Kalantar.
There you go.
There you go. All right. So, Neda, first off, thank you very much for joining us today. I'm sorry that we couldn't get this going sooner, but we had all of the craziness with the Survivor, and I finally got a chance to catch my breath, so I'm glad we're able to get you on. And, Neda, how have you been doing since the finale?
Good, I guess. I think that's the proper answer to give, but it's weird being outside the house. It's like really hard adjusting to normal life. I don't like it. I want to go back.
What's been the hardest part?
I don't even know, just like not being told what to do. Like we were told pretty much what to do at every time. We were told when to sleep, when we were supposed to wake up. So like I wake up and I reach out for my phone thinking it's my battery pack, about to put it on. I'm like, oh, that's not. Just everything, I think, adjusting.
How long does it take to go back into real life after spending, how many days were you in the Big Brother house?
71.
71. So 71 days in the Big Brother house. You know, is there a point when you start to feel like a normal person again, or are you still not right?
I don't know. I think you need to ask somebody who actually feels like a normal person, because I don't have the answer. I'm hoping soon.
All right, well, I'm very interested in hearing everything you have to say about your game. Brian and I were big fans, and we enjoyed watching you the whole way through. Brian actually made you his preseason pick to win the game.
Thanks, Brian. Sorry to let you down.
Oh, you didn't let me down. You played amazingly.
Thank you.
Brian was. It took me longer to realize how good you were doing, Brian. But Brian was on from the ground floor. But Brian, he kept an eye on the live feeds the whole time, and he knew to keep an eye out on you.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
I knew for the first half I was going to lay like super low, so I'm like, I'm probably not even making the episodes right now, but I was like okay with it.
Yeah, well, I should know better, because I always say that if you go on to Big Brother, I say go to sleep for the first 30, 40 days. Just like go in one of the bedrooms, don't bother anybody. All you can do is lose the game in the first half. So you did that perfectly, and then like I say, then you want to start making your moves and winning competitions as you go down the stretch. So good job by you, and bad job by me not recognizing what I tell people to do when they go in the Big Brother house.
God, you suck, Rob.
Bad job by me. All right, so let me just set up everything that we're doing here today. So we have the chat room going here on robhasawebsite.com. We also have our Twitter open. You can use the hashtag RHAP, and then also you could post your questions on our YouTube channel at robhasawebsite.com/YouTube. That's where we're going to be putting questions up, and we want to take a ton of questions from you guys, because I know you guys have been very excited to hear from Neda as well. So it's all going to be a lot of fun here with Neda. So, Neda, let me ask you the question that I feel like is probably top of mind for most people. How has your relationship with John changed since you got out of the house? Are you guys on good terms at this point, or is there still a little weirdness from the finale?
No, we're definitely on good terms. I'm not mad at him at all. I've never said that I was mad at him. yeah, I don't know. Like he did the best game move, and it was the game. So we're fine. Yeah, he's still my best friend.
Best friend.
Yes, best friend.
Oh my God. Because I felt like that, you guys were so close in the house, and then he ends up betraying you. Surely it's a game move, but you seemed very annoyed that night, that the night of the finale, and I'm sure that that is a hard thing to do. And much like yourself, I've come in third place on a reality show and
I know.
been
I watched your season.
well, you know what it's like to be the you should have won person.
Yeah.
Is that a hard thing to come to terms with for you?
100%. I blame myself for like anything I did wrong for not getting those last two questions, and I'm going to analyze this for like the rest of my life. I'm never going to get over losing, especially because I'm such a like going on Big Brother and winning Big Brother has been my dream for so long, and for me to have come that close to it and to have like fucked up my game, I'm never going to get over it. But I'm not blaming anyone but myself, so which sucks. Like I wish I had somebody to blame because it would be a lot easier passing off the blame to someone else. But yeah, it's hard. It's actually like one of the roughest things. The only person I felt okay about like talking to, because everyone's like, "Oh, you're fine, you'll be okay." The only person I was okay with talking about this to was Emmett, in the same position as me last year. So
Yeah.
like no one else was able to feel okay about it.
Yeah. Although he got to, you should have
Yeah.
tried to propose to John or something like that, because then you would have been in the same position as Emmett. At least he gets to sort of share in that money after a while. But at least maybe you could at least visit John at his house and enjoy some of that furniture from the brick.
No answer.
I guess so. All right. So, do you feel like, is there anything that you feel like you should have or could have done differently? I know you said answering those two questions differently in the end, and Brian and I tried to sort of autopsy your game the day after the season was over, and we didn't really come up with any major move that you should have done differently. Do you have anything that you really point to?
Honestly, like no, not really. I don't think there was a major move. There's like I could say taking Sabrina that far into the game was very dangerous because you make it so appealing for whoever's in that final three to want to take Sabrina to final two because you know you're going to win against her. But even if I had taken Adele or Heather, it would have been the same type of situation because John would have still taken them to the end over me. I don't think so. Maybe I should have been more reassuring to John the last few days that I was going to take him to Final 2, but I think by the time we reached Final 3, he was pretty set on having to take Sabrina. So honestly, nothing. Like, yeah, answering those questions and maybe being more reassuring to John at the end that I was going to actually take him to Final 2.
I feel like this season of Big Brother really had like 3 chapters. Like I feel like there was the whole like first chapter, which was up until Canada's HOH,
Yeah.
and then there was a point, and I'm trying to figure exactly where the dividing line is. But there's basically from like after Canada's HOH, all the way through up about the time where Arlie and Allison go out. There's like that whole very fast middle part where I felt like you really took control of the game in that middle part. And then it felt like it went on for weeks and weeks and weeks, but I guess it was only about 3 weeks through the point of getting rid of the gremlins, through everything that went on with the final the final 5 with Adele and Heather, and then ultimately with the final 3. How fast did those periods feel like for you?
I felt like the first half of the game went by extremely slow, up until Canada's HOH, just because it was really hard because up until that point I was trying to like bite my tongue a lot. I was trying to like, really low. I wasn't like showing much of my personality at all. So I felt like that time went by super slow. And then after Canada's HOH, it literally feels like it was 2 weeks. It was so fast. Like everything just happened so fast. It got to us being final 3. We're like, how did this even happen right now? Like how fast did time go by? But the first half went by extremely slow for me.
How hard was it for you in the beginning of the game to sort of, bite your tongue and not be playing as aggressively as you would go on to play later in the game?
Oh, so hard. Just biting my tongue because there's so many people saying extremely rude comments all the time, and there's people walking around like they own the place, and it's so annoying. I'm like, I'm not one of those people in real life. In real life, if I like think something, I'm gonna say it. But I knew that that gets you in a lot of trouble in the house. That's what got Ika in trouble. That's what got Andrew in trouble. So you don't do that in the first half of the Big Brother game unless you're like a really bad game player. So I knew I was doing it for my game, so it made it a little bit easier, but it was still hard all the same.
And now
The hardest part was pretending like I wasn't a fan of the game because people would say the wrong facts all the time, and I would have to sit there and be like, "Oh yeah, okay, cool."
And what was it like for you in the first couple of weeks? I think week 2, you end up going up on the block, and they tell you that you're going to be a pawn and not to worry. But as somebody who's such a big fan of the show, how scary is that for you that you could not only be up on the block in week 2, but also out of the game, and your dream is over before you even get a chance to play the game?
Yeah, I was just shocked that I was going up because usually when actually putting someone up, or even when you're faking somebody up, you tell them beforehand. Andrew didn't even bother with that. He doesn't really know the game, so he didn't bother with like telling me I was a pawn or anything. So that's when I kind of turned on Andrew a lot too. But it was really scary because you know that pawns do go home. Something crazy could happen, and people can turn against you. But I was lucky enough that Kyle and Adele and Paul had that huge freak out as soon as the nomination ceremony was over. So I did feel pretty safe. And then everyone was telling me they were going to take me off with the veto anyway. So I felt pretty safe, but I mean, you never feel 100% safe in the game.
And at what point in the game did you realize that John was a guy that you wanted to go very far into the game with? I mean, we always saw that you guys had this friendship. Brian, he created all of these alliance charts early on, and very early on he had the dots connecting you to John when he seemed like he was sort of on the outs with the whole first 5 crew. So at what point did you realize that this is the guy that, you know, I could really build something with?
Like day 4 or 5.
Wow.
It was really early on, yeah, extremely early on.
Yeah. And you guys had a really great bond in the game where you guys could both ended up going further into the game than I think than each of you could have gone without the other. Was there any previous Big Brother pair that you modeled that after?
Honestly, no, there wasn't anyone I modeled anything after in my game because you can't really model anything after someone when you're playing the game with completely different people. I needed John for the competition wins, and he needed me to tell him what to do with those competition wins. So, yeah, we did need each other. But, no, there's no one I can really think of that. Like, because Emmett and Jillian, I guess, maybe them, but there was no one I was actually, like, modeling it after.
And so, you know, the whole first 5 ends up falling apart after the whole Canada's HOH thing. And so you guys end up with the sloppy seconds ending up making, you know, this new alliance, which is going to basically run the rest of the table in the game. At what point do you realize that Arlie needs to go? Because I felt like that was such a major swing in the game when you took Arlie away from John and really forced him to not have any other options.
Week one, I knew Arlie had to go because I went into the diary room like week 1 and I was like, Arlie's a super fan of this game because he's let it slip to me so many times. Like we were talking about the challenge and then he let out Yvette's name instead of somebody else. I'm like, how do you know Yvette if you're not a Big Brother super fan, you know? I knew he was a super fan. I knew how he was playing all sides. So it was week 1 I was really sketched out. Even before things formed, I went up to Adele and Heather and John and I was telling them that Arlie isn't someone we can really trust on our side. So he needs to be the first one of the sloppy seconds to go once we actually do all come together. So I told them straight up, I'm like, we need him to vote out Kenny, to help us vote out Kenny and Sarah and whoever else is left on that side. And then we need to get rid of him before anyone else. So I was working on the whole Arlie thing for quite a while. And also Arlie was sketchy because me and him never talked game. Ever. We talked game for like 5 minutes when the sloppy seconds were together. But
we debated a lot during the season whether Arlie was a really, really great player or maybe somebody who was just an okay player who was too obvious about that he was playing a good game. What was your take on that? Was he somebody that you truly feared or somebody that was too obvious about his strengths in the game?
I feared Arlie because I thought that he was going to take John further than he was going to take me because he needed John to kind of like be a shield for him, and he knew that me and John had this connection that he needed to that.
Like this?
Ew, no.
Oh.
Sorry, love you, Peter and Alec, but
Meat shield.
sorry, I can't remember the question. What was the question? Oh yeah, Arlie is a good player. I think Arlie could have been an amazing player, but he showed his cards way too early in the game. He kind of started slipping up towards the middle of the game about really what he was doing. He wasn't very good at throwing the competitions. He was very obvious about it, and I don't know if I know Sarah caught on, but I don't know if anyone else did. So Arlie, I don't think reached his potential of how great he could be in that game.
Yeah, that he definitely was one of the most entertaining characters to watch, and I feel like he definitely should come back for an All-Stars. But there was a point in the game where it was just like he was overdoing it so much, where he was throwing competitions, but I felt like he was doing it in such a way where I felt like it was he wanted the people at home to know he was throwing the competitions, and so I feel like that he was overdoing it. And I feel like that's a hard thing to hide, that you are throwing it on purpose to the audience.
Here's the thing. Arlie and I played very similar games in the first half of the game because we were both throwing every single competition. I threw every single HOH up until the one I won, because I even threw the one to Heather and Blindside. But I was like just more subtle about it, whereas Arlie would like hit the button and then he'd be like, oh no, I don't know the answer, and everyone's like, hey Arlie, we know the answer. So I think he should have been a lot more subtle. Also, something he did wrong, I think, was when we put him up on the block, as soon as he was up there, he kind of just let everything spill. He was like, oh, I've been like playing it up to the cameras, I've like been lying to everyone, I'm a super fan. And we're all like, why are you telling us this? Because he could have actually convinced people to keep him in the game, but then he admitted to how big of a liar he had been, so he shouldn't have done that.
Well, another one of your best moves in the game was at that point when Arlie is up on the block, and they have a choice between saving Arlie and who was it? Was it who was the other person on the block? Adele on the block at that time. And so basically, you were able to convince, and it was such a better move for them to save Arlie.
100%.
Yeah, and it was so funny because they realized it within 3 hours of making the decision that it was.
I don't know why they did that. I have no idea why they thought it was better for them to send home Arlie. Like, I don't get it, because it was very clear choice for them to keep Arlie. But me and John went to work for those next I think it was 48 hours. We pulled in Allison, we made a fake Final Four with her, we went downstairs, we started bashing Arlie and saying all these lies that he's told, that we were just making everything up, and it got to the point where we got Sabrina so riled up that she was standing up and screaming about Arlie and stuff, so that was a lot of effort by John and I think. And I think Allison really did trust John, so that really worked in our favor.
I saw you tweeting about whether or not Allison is a healthcare professional.
I didn't get a response.
What was it like?
I would still like to know.
When you saw that clip for the first time, what was your response to Allison sort of around that same time in the game when she thinks that she might go up on the block at that point, and she sort of has a drunken meltdown? What was your take on seeing some of that?
I was a little confused because at that point she had the secret veto, so I don't get why she was breaking down anyway. She was going to be safe no matter what. But man, everyone was really drunk that night, so it was really funny. I feel so bad for her for having that on television, but it was such a funny break.
I don't think it was on the show. I think it was just on YouTube.
It was just on live feeds, yeah.
What's been the craziest thing that you've seen from either the feeds or the TV show that you didn't know happened in the house?
Nothing really. I think just seeing Scott and Nate on television, seeing their personalities was cool. But we all kind of assumed that Allison had been voted in from a group of people. Maybe the fact that they lived in a room for a solid with no one actually hearing them, because that house was not soundproof at all. So I'm surprised no one heard them in there. But just seeing Scott and Nate and seeing their personalities, because I don't know who these people are. That was kind of cool.
Okay. Brian, before I jump into taking questions, is there anything that you want to ask Neda that you've been dying to know?
Yeah, I guess the reason I picked you before the season started was because specifically you responded when they asked about what kind of competitions are you afraid of. You said you're not afraid of any because you're going to throw them all. Was it a conscious decision to throw everything up until the end, or did you change your strategy at a certain point? And do you feel like if you would have thrown all those competitions, you could have possibly made it to the end with John?
No, I think I did need to win that. I knew that I was going to throw it to a certain extent, because once you get towards the end of the game, you should start winning stuff, unless you're like a crazy person like Dr. Will and he can get by without winning anything. But like I needed to win that, what was it called, Century 21 or Pier 21 challenge, because if Allison had won to put up John for the instant eviction 100%, and one of us was going to go home. So I did need to win those to get further in the game. I think, honestly, maybe something I should have done that would have made John take me to Final 2 was be a bigger bitch to everyone. I should have just not been, like, nice to everyone. I should have just been meaner to people so that people in the jury would hate me, maybe.
Wait, you would steal the Adele plan?
Yeah, I would definitely. Adele's plan was actually really bad because we knew exactly what he was doing. Because he would be mean to people, and then he would come and sit next to us. He's like, "You guys, I am getting no jury votes. Like, it would be so smart for you guys to take me to the end." And we're like, "Okay, Adele, we get it." Like.
Speaking of people who were at the end of the game, what was your take on Sabrina and her game? Because I feel like that there was at least a little bit of a debate over whether Sabrina actually had played well to some degree, because she was very instrumental in the beginning of the game, in the first 5, and then she also managed to then somehow survive that and find a way to make it all the way down to the end. Was that to some degree her changing her game, or was that 100% that you guys dragged her that far?
Okay, here, let's go through this. Serena much added to her gameplay. Let's run through the first 4 weeks. People say that she had a lot of influence in the house. She didn't. It was more Kenny and Andrew more than anything. Sabrina was good in the fact that she was bringing information back to them, but not that she had control. In the first week, Paul put up Nick and Andrew was part of the first 5. He was going to go home unless he won that veto. That was the only thing that kept Andrew safe that week. Second week, Andrew wins. It's Andrew's decision to put up me and Paul. Third week, Ika, the only reason Ika did not put up one of the first 5 was because she was afraid, because every single person in the house was telling her not to do it. Not just Sabrina. Every single person was telling her this. Fourth week, okay, I'll give this to Sabrina because that's when Rochelle was HOH. Sabrina told her not to put up Kenny and stuff. But Rochelle really liked Kenny, and Kenny had more of an influence on Rochelle's HOH than anything, but it only shows Sabrina on the show, you know, talking her into it. Fifth week was Canada's HOH when she was put up on the block, and then from then on out, we kept her in the game because she was not a physical or a mental competitor at all, so we took her to the end for that reason. There was times when she was like, oh, I'm a really good social gameplay, I have really good social gameplay, like she would come up to us and she would, like, try and campaign, but every single one of us were zoned out when she was talking to us. I would not be able to tell you a single thing she told me when she was campaigning to me, because I would just switch off and like take a nap. Like, so Sabrina did nothing in this game. I'll give her Rochelle's HOH week, but other than that, she was taken to the end because people thought they could beat her. Sorry.
But she was good TV though, right? Right? You
gotta amazing television. I will give her that.
Brian, you like good TV, right?
Does everybody not like good TV?
She was amazing television. She was really entertaining to watch.
All right, let's go ahead. Let's jump into some of your questions. I know that we have so many questions for Neda. Again, you can post them. The best way to do it is either with the hashtag RHAP or on our YouTube channel at robhasawebsite.com/YouTube. Okay, let's start off with Edward Giordano, who wants to know, Neda, in retrospect, if you had nominated John and Adele in the instant eviction and headed towards an all-female Final 5, would you have had a better chance of winning? Now, that's a major strategy shift there, to go with all-female Final 5. Is that something you even considered?
No, I tried a female alliance in the beginning and it didn't work for me, and it was not something I considered. Towards the end, when we were talking about when it was Final Four and we were talking about who was going to win the veto, and the girls, Heather and Sabrina, were really pushing for a girls' Final Three. I didn't want that because I didn't trust Heather at that point for her to take me to Final Two. I thought that no matter what, they were each going to take each other, and I was going to have to win my way to the end. And I know Allison at that point didn't trust me either. So if I hadn't taken Allison out in that instant eviction, she was going to come after me. So no, I don't think it would have worked.
No, that's no good. That's a bad idea. Because also, even if you got to the Final Five with all women, even if you have Heather, then you're going to be outnumbered by the Arlie's Angels crew, and you're not making it as far. Go all women.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to Purple Dinosaur. Hey, Neda, if you had won POV in Final Four, would you have evicted John or Heather?
Okay, here's the thing. I went into it thinking I was going to evict. Okay, it was on the ropes challenge, the HOH, that Heather almost beat John. That's when I decided I wanted John in Final 3 with me, because I was really scared when Heather was about to beat John that Heather was going to vote out John or put up John for nomination and John was going to go home. So that was my biggest fear, and it was then that I decided I really want John in Final 3 with me. So honestly, that veto, I would have kept John and voted out Heather. But now I'm like, if I won, obviously I would have voted out John because Heather was going to take me to Final 2, and she would have won that boat, the first round with the boat. I would have won the second round against Sabrina, and then we would have gone to Final 2 together. So.
Okay. So it just came down to the roll of the dice in the Candyland or whatever it was called?
Was complete luck in that game. Like, you had to get the questions right as well. If I had gotten the questions right at the end again, like, I would have won, but it depended on if you rolled a 6, it depended on like so much.
Yeah. Would you have cut your hair to advance in the Candyland game?
How short?
What did they say? Okay, you have to. What was the terminology they used in that game? Like, is it? Are you willing to do it? What did they say?
I don't even know.
What would you do?
What would you?
Well, Heather didn't wear the squirrel costume.
Yeah, she wouldn't.
Yeah, the Heather not wearing a squirrel costume was. I don't get why she didn't. It was a little bit of me also convincing her not to do it because when she was kind of considering it, I was like, listen, Tail's gonna get really hot, and then she was like, oh yeah, and then she decided I didn't want her to win that POV. As much as I love Heather, I just didn't want her to win because I wanted John to win it, or myself.
Now, how come they let you change before the finale? Were you excited when they told you that?
Yeah, I was allowed to change. I think it was like about an hour or two before the finale. I was so excited. I was like scared I was gonna have to walk out there with my farm girl outfit. So I'm really grateful. But I heard that apparently a lot of people got angry about that. So.
Yeah.
The finale, guys. John was also allowed to shower. So.
Oh, okay. Well, that was good.
Sabrina was allowed to eat.
JF Dan 90 wants to know: have you reconsidered your decisions after John's solitary confinement as a potential? I mean, it's too small. As a potential. I can't make out what that word is. Anyway, his attitude really changed those days, and the vibes of doubts about you taking him to the final 2 started to shine through in that conversation. Do you feel like that after John went into solitary confinement that you should have been more keen on what had changed about him?
No, honestly, the only thing that it was a lot of editing that made it show as if he kind of changed his mind with the whole Adele situation. I don't think it was. I think, yeah, I should have been more reassuring to John that I was going to go to the end with him. I think I was, though. At that point, I was still being really reassuring. So, no, I don't think so. Like, I didn't see much of a change. The only change was he wanted to keep Adele because he finally realized that was better for his game. But it wasn't better for mine, so there's no way I was going to keep Adele around.
Yeah, that solitary confinement can be a real wake-up call for some of these players. Speaking of Wake Up Canada, that's what they should call that.
Oh, my God.
Cam Law wants to know, who is your favorite BB player, and who do you think is the best ever player? All right, tell us about your backstory with the Big Brother.
Well, I've been watching Big Brother since like season 2, so Oh god, my favorite big. I have so many though. I've got like the obvious ones like Will and Dan. I think Will actually is one of the best players to have ever played this game. But I really love June and Danielle. Danielle from season 3. So
Yeah.
I like the strong female strategists in the game.
Have you talked at all with Danielle Reyes since you've been out of the house?
No, I haven't. But she follows me on Twitter, which is cool.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you guys are sort of bonded. Now she has a little bit of a different story where she gets to the final 2 and then she has the jury. But I had said that I felt like if you had been able to pull this off, I said I thought that you were going to be the best female player since Danielle Reyes.
Oh, God, I fucked up.
You're so close. You were so close to that high praise, and then people were killing me. You know, Twitter is a lot of very controversial.
It really sucks because it comes down to me getting 2 questions right. I mean, 2 questions right or wrong for that difference to have been made. For me to have been this amazing player versus this not so great player. 2 questions.
No, that's I don't think it's that case because that there are people out there who's swear up and down you are the best player. So I don't think anybody is calling you a so-so player. I don't think that at all. I think that you really impressed everybody this season with your gameplay.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Still sucks losing, though.
Yeah, well, that part sucks. We can't change that. But no, I don't think we can take anything away from your game. Brandon M. wants to know, why didn't you fight harder to save Aika? I feel like if you had talked to Rochelle one-on-one, you could have stopped her from backdooring her. Do you feel like you should have saved Aika harder?
No. There was no chance of saving Aika at all. Aika was the plan from the beginning from them. I knew the influence that Kenny and Andrew and Sabrina had over Rochelle, and for me to go up to Rochelle and do this, I knew that anything you said to Rochelle went straight back to Sabrina, which went straight back to the boys. So I would have been putting myself in this huge position of danger, and I didn't want to put myself in that position.
Okay. Let's go to Harry, who wants to know, coming into the house, who did you immediately want to get out, and who did you want to align with based on first impressions? Okay, let's start with the who did you want to get out immediately. Who, when you first laid eyes on them, did you say, I got to get rid of this person?
Andrew.
Yes.
Yeah, Andrew, 100%, because I knew he was going to be someone who was going to come in there and win a lot of competitions, and he was going to like align himself with like the bros, and so I thought I wanted Andrew out right away, but I knew Andrew was one of those people who was going to target on his own, so I didn't really need to do anything to get Andrew out. People were going to do it for me, and it was Canada who did it, which is nice. And then who did I want to align with right away? Honestly, right away, it was Rochelle that I wanted to align myself with. We were the last 2 girls standing on that ice block, so we really bonded the first week in the house. We were working together for a little while until her and Sabrina became close, and then it was when I started seeing how much of an influence Sabrina had over Rochelle, and Rochelle wasn't really making her own choices. That's when I kind of cut away from Rochelle.
Could you talk a little bit about how hilarious it must have been that first night when Paul really started wheeling and dealing on the icebreaker challenge?
Paul called me a floater on day 2. On day 2, he pulls me aside and he's like, Neda, I think you're just a really big floater in this game. And I'm like, what? I'm like, it's day 2. Paul was horrible at this game. Like, love you, Paul, but you're so bad at this game. He pulled everyone aside, made final 2s with every single person. I'm like, did you not watch season 10? Like, you can't just make a final 2 with every single person on the first night. It doesn't work. Yeah,
but he was so funny. He was good TV too, Brian.
Yes, he did.
We like good TV. Okay, let's go to Hera wants to know, if Sabrina was in the final 2 with Rochelle, who would you vote for? Okay, I don't know how this happened, but okay, all Gremlin final 2. Who do you vote for? They did it.
I would just walk out of the studio. Yeah, no.
Who fed the Mogwai after midnight?
Yeah, no, that's I don't know. No one.
All right, nobody.
Rochelle, because I don't know. Fuck, I don't know.
Nell Y wants to know, are you now aware that some of your house guests were reprimanded? Okay, that do you care to comment? Well, why were people reprimanded?
Wait, what are they talking about?
I'm not sure, Brian. Do you know what that means?
I don't know. I have no idea because I don't really.
Like there was times in the house we were punished for like sleeping or having the house being dirty, and we got like our water and food taken away. But I don't know if there's more stuff. I'm not sure.
All right, we'll move on. Okay, here's a question for, this is from JF Dan, who wants to know, the first few weeks, people, mainly Sabrina, Ika, and Kyle, made up lies about John to you and constantly addressed that he's with the guys only and has no loyalty towards you, leading to emotional reactions a couple of times. Did this happen, and did you actually believe that?
Nope, I never believed it. Me and John, like I said, we were aligned from very beginning, and I actually told John to go and tell the guys that he has me wrapped around his finger, that's going to keep me safe, and it's also going to make it seem as if like John can control me, so the guys would want to keep me around for a while. I knew that the boys kind of wanted John out early on anyways, but anytime I was trying to kind of distance, in the beginning, I was trying to pretend like John and I weren't as close as we actually were, because I was still working with the girls. So they would come and tell me stuff about John, and I would act really upset about it and pretend like I was really hurt that he wasn't working with me, but it was all just me acting.
Well, good acting.
Thanks.
Very good. Okay, let's take a question from get this one. Edward Giordano. Neda, if you somehow were in charge of defending Sabrina's final jury speech, what would be your argument to win? If you had to write Sabrina's jury speech, is there anything she could say?
Oh God. I made an alliance that was targeted really early on. The alliance, not me, controlled what happened in the beginning of the house, but there was always, I just kind of sucked at the game, and I made sure that whoever was on the block with me was way better at the game, so that they were always a better target to get out.
All right, here's a question from Paolo Siracusa, who wants to know, Neda, you're so hot. Would you go out with me? 21 male Montreal.
You fly me out to Montreal, and I'll go out with you.
Now, what is your dating situation? Are you single?
I'm single, yes.
Okay. And have a lot of guys approached you since being on the show? Because I feel like that's something that Brian and I have heard all season long. I feel like there seems like there's a lot of suitors that are out there for you.
I've gotten about like 100 marriage proposals, and I say yes to all of them. So I guess I'm actually engaged.
So you didn't stop playing the game. You're making final two deals with everybody?
Yeah. Well, I'm not like John, who gets drunk and makes final two with everyone, but I'll still get engaged to everyone.
Okay. I think that most of the guys would probably prefer that if you just got drunk and made final two deals with them. But if you're just going to make the deals without getting drunk, that's probably not as good.
Yeah.
How many rings did you get out of them proposals? You should count the proposals by the rings you get from them.
Yeah, true. What the hell? I haven't gotten any rings yet. I just have Arlie's fake ring he gave me at the beginning of the season. Oh yeah, I guess me and Arlie are still engaged too.
Yeah. If you like it, put a ring on it. Come on, wake up, Canada.
Call me, boys.
That's right. Spicy Wasabi wants to know, your goodbye messages to evicted house guests early on came off as know-it-all-y. Hey, that's not a bad thing. What would be your goodbye message to yourself when you were evicted? Now, is this pre or post Emmett and Jillian coming into the house?
Okay, so a lot of people think that it was Emmett and Jillian who switched the way I was talking to jury, and it really wasn't, because pre-jury, I really didn't care how my goodbye messages to these people were. I really didn't. And to Arlie, the only reason my message was so harsh to him was because I knew that he was going to respect gameplay and he wasn't going to take it personally. And at that point, I was still lying really low. Like, all the moves I was making it seem as if it was other people doing it. So I wanted to make sure the first person in the jury, and I lucked out because it was Arlie, and he wasn't going to take it personally, was really strong, and they knew the type of game I was playing. And then after Arlie, I was like very nice to everyone else, because I would have never given a message like that to Rochelle or Sabrina, who was going to be in jury, because they're very emotional players. And then what's my message to myself going to be? Fuck, I don't know. You should have gotten those questions right. You suck.
Well, I don't know if you're going to get your own vote after that. So when Emmett and Jillian came into the house, that you were just making them feel good about that they like I've been watching Big Brother for 10, 12 years, and I don't need you guys to tell me to be nice to the jury members when they go out on the jury.
Well, I honestly, the main thing that I got out of the Emmett and Jillian thing was that it wasn't going to be very smart to sit next to John at the end. I can't remember if that showed it in the episode or not, but that was one of the more major things that we talked about. We talked about the jury thing for about like a few seconds. Anyone that's a fan of Big Brother or Survivor knows how important jury management is. So obviously I knew that you have to be nice to the jury. So the main thing me and Emmett and Jillian talked about was actually John, but I don't know if that made more of the episode or not.
Did you watch Survivor this past season?
No, I haven't had to deal with it yet. There's so many shows I need to catch up with.
It's a fun season. Let's go to Marianne.
Yeah, I heard it's been really good.
Who wants to know, now that the game is over, you know that you would have won against John. However, while you were still in the game, what argument were you planning on making to convince the jury to vote for you over him? Now, what did they say? That if it was you versus John in the finals, would it have been a 4-3?
No, I would have gotten everyone's vote except for Canada.
Oh, wow.
They asked us in an interview the very next day after the finale. They asked like everyone who had been evicted from the house, who, if I was sitting next to John, who would have voted for me in the end. Everything for Nick and Paul, who weren't really in the jury, raised their hand for me.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Well, it kind of sucks actually.
Yeah,
but.
It stings. It stings.
Yeah.
What's Canada's problem? Why wouldn't you got Canada's vote?
Oh, because just John's such a lovable, goofy guy. I think everyone knew that John was gonna get Canada's vote. I think I would have gotten more of the hardcore fans' votes, but I think the casual viewers love John, and for good reason. He's a very funny guy.
He's a lovable guy.
Yeah.
Let's go to all right. Actually, it's the same question. Let me take the next one, which is from Jacob. Wants to know, Neda, if you went back for an All-Stars, hypothetically, what players would you want to see in the house with you from the first two BB Canada seasons? So I feel like this is a real possibility where you could go play in the All-Stars. All right, if you want, you can tell me some people, but then I want to talk about big picture here with you.
Okay.
Who else should go?
Who else should go? Who else would I want to play with? Because that's a difference. I would bring back all the shitty players.
Yeah. Okay. So now here comes Rochelle is back and Paul is back and but who yeah, Kyle's back. So but who would you want to see back as a fan?
Okay, from season 1, I think Emmett, Jill, Gary, and Peter would come back.
Okay.
I'm just going to choose 4 from each. Is that okay, or should I choose?
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay, and then from mine, I think John, Arlie. I would like to see Kenny come back.
Kenny.
I think Kenny could play a really amazing game because she's,
now,
like you said.
she's good TV.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah, Kenny was good at the game. He just kind of sucked at talking to people in power sometimes because he would go up to the person in HOH and he would act like it was his HOH. He would be like, well, if you put up this person, it's way better for my game. And then the HOH would be like, what the fuck? Why are you telling me this? He did that to Aika. He did that to Heather. So I think now that he's watched the season and seen that, he could really have an amazing game if he comes back.
Yeah. I feel like the best thing for you is have Big Brother All-Stars be 4 years from now.
So when people forget.
Yeah, you want people to forget. You don't want to go back too quick. But trust me on that one. You want to, especially that, if you played a very strategic game, you want time to go by. You want to be forgotten about just enough that casting still remembers you a little bit. You want to be the last person that gets a slot in the All-Stars. And that's where you want to be. Yeah.
Because you came back the next season for All-Stars, didn't you?
It was. I played it
out pretty quick.
Yeah, I was out pretty quick. Yeah. So, it was almost I think the Big Brother equivalent for that would be probably somebody like a Nokomis or a Kaser, somebody just who went out early on in the All-Stars who was seen as a strategic threat. And so, you want a lot of time to go by. And then that'll be perfect.
People are always scared of taking out like the physical threats first, even though they've tried to do it the last 2 Canadian seasons and it's kind of backfired on them. So I'm scared that I would go back and I would be like taken out right away. But you're right. If like time passes by, I'm gonna forget. So I'll be good.
Yeah, you need like then have all these big characters: Big Brother Canada 3, Big Brother Canada 4, Big Brother Canada 5, and then people are like, oh, was Neda even that great? Yeah. No, that's good. That's all playing right into your hand. Okay. Spicy Wasabi wants to know, it seemed like after the Gemmet strategy session, your game started to unravel and others in the house started to pick up on clues of your real intentions. So did Gemmet ruin your game and cause your demise? Was that a net positive or a net negative to get the visit from Gemmet?
It was honestly like a nothing. Like it was more just me being able to meet these people who I was huge fans of in season 1. I don't think it ruined my game at all. I think the only person who really started getting weary of me was John, but that's only because I wanted Adele gone, not because of anything else. There was that little bit when I told Adele he was going home, and John was kind of like scared off by that. But I think that I did smooth over the situation with that really well. It wasn't really shown on TV. But no, it just came down to John thinking he wasn't going to beat me in the end. So I don't think the Gemmet thing ruined anything.
It's a tough call, because I felt like when that happened on the TV show, I felt like it sort of became a foregone conclusion. Okay, Ned is going to win. And because it didn't seem like at that time John was even thinking about not taking you to the end. And as viewers of the show, we were actually really surprised that John did what he did, because, and Brian, correct me if I'm saying anything wrong, John never talked about getting rid of you and not taking you to the finals. It was only in the last couple days, even after live feeds went away, that I guess John had this idea, and it was a well-kept secret from us. That's why it was so shocking for everybody on the outside when John doesn't take you to the end.
Well, it was either John said that he wasn't going to take me to the end and it wasn't shown, or John was smart enough with the audience and didn't say that he wasn't going to take me to the end. Because I went into the diary rooms being as blunt and honest as possible, because I wanted the audience to know exactly what was going on in my head. Anytime that I said I wasn't going to take John to the end, I also said, okay, but I still do want him in Final 3 because I think he's going to take me to the end. But they didn't show that part, right? Because they just wanted me to be this like evil girl in the house doing whatever, backstabbing her best friend. So either John was talking about me, about not wanting to take me to the end, and it was the most shocking ending for him not to take me without having spoken about it, or he was smart enough not to mention that in the diary rooms.
Brian, what do you think it is?
About what his intentions was? I mean, has he not told you?
Well, we've talked, and he keeps saying that he decided in Final 3 that he wasn't going to take me. But still, you'd think that there would be more diary rooms about it.
No, I think somehow I feel like he had said at one point that he was definitely taking you to the finals, and I just assumed it all the way up until the end. And then after the feeds went down in the second to last episode, that's right at the end of the episode, there's this hint of him saying, but I don't know if it's the best thing for me to take you to the end. Like, it was just dawning on him. So I'm clueless to when that actually happened.
I do believe that it happened at Final 3. I do believe that it was when Heather left, he kind of saw his options, and Sabrina was just way too tempting of a person to take. So.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes all the sense.
Here's a question from Spicy Wasabi X. Which would be a bigger seller for Black and Saint, Wallabro, Hundo, or Wake Up Canada?
Oh, geez. Wake Up Canada, I think.
Yeah.
I won't hex you.
Hex you, that's a good one, actually. I like that.
Are you doing any Big Brother themed shirts?
I don't know if I'm like allowed to do Big Brother themed shirts. I am making a Kenny shirt though. It's gonna be like Kenny's face drawn on there.
I think you could do. I know they have the Cafe Press store for Big Brother Canada, but I kind of feel like that there's like. You could put they didn't trademark Wake Up Canada. If you want to put that on a shirt, I don't see how they could stop you from that.
True. Yeah, I should probably look into this.
Yeah, if you wanted to put Hundo on a shirt, like I don't think they put a copyright on that. I mean, you can't put the Big Brother Canada logo or something, but I think you could pretty much do anything that was said in the house. I think so.
Well, I need to start getting my life together. I'm like just readjusting being back in the normal world, so I'm still trying to like, you
Yeah.
know.
All right. Well, you need a manager working on these things for you.
I do.
Yeah. All right. Maybe. Yeah. Forget all these people trying to
Right.
marry you. You need people. You need people. Looking out for your career, making you some money, Nana.
I do, yeah, and I do need that since I don't win the $100,000.
Yeah. Wake
So.
up, Canada. Come on. All right, this is from Dana, who wants to know: do you think that voting out Adele and then telling him that you were going to vote him out was the turning point for John? That was when he realized that you were in it for yourself and that you wouldn't take him, and that's when he turned on you. Okay, so that seemed like that was a big deal on the TV show where Adele was like, Neda, tell me if it's me. You got to tell me, and you were like, okay, it's you. And then John kind of flipped out when you told him that you told Adele.
Yeah, one thing I think I messed up on was I was going to tell Adele about 10 minutes before eviction. But he kind of came into the bathroom about an hour before, and I'm like, I can't tell him, no, I'm keeping you, and then 10 minutes before tell him I'm evicting you. So I was just like, fuck it, I'll tell him now. It'll give me some time to go smooth things over with John. And it wasn't as big of a deal as the TV show made it out to be. John was sketched out for a while. I think I smoothed it over with him. And I really think the turning point was when we got down to Final 3 and he saw Sabrina there and he saw me there. So that's what I think.
Yeah, that's very tempting.
And that's what he said, so.
Yeah. Let's take another question from Spicy Wasabi. He said, you said you learned the English language by watching Big Brother while growing up. As a young girl, what were you thinking at the time about Americans with people like Dr. Will, Danielle, Chicken George on your TV screen? Is that true? You learned English from watching Big Brother?
I didn't learn it from watching Big Brother, but I just couldn't speak English that well while I was watching it, so I guess television like helped. But watching Will, I remember just thinking Will was hot and like being really young, and also I don't know why my parents will let me watch this when I was so young.
I was going to say, if you learned to speak English from watching Big Brother, I don't know why I don't hear "but first" every other word out of your mouth.
No, I couldn't speak English that well when I was watching it, but yeah, I guess TV helps.
I'm sure it did. Did you I guess being exposed to some of these crazy characters, did that shape your perceptions of Americans or anything like that by watching the show at such a young age?
No, not by Americans at all. I just remember thinking this was the coolest game ever because where else in the world can you go and you're rewarded for like lying and cheating and stealing from people like other than prison? But I just thought it was the coolest concept of how you can use like manipulation and how the game was just so cool. That's all I remember thinking.
Yeah. Okay, let's take a question from Jake Elliott. Wants to know what are some of the biggest pop culture events that shocked Neda to find out happened after they got out of the house? Any TV shows or movies that she was really bummed out about missing while playing? Okay, so the Big Brother house, you go in there and you come out, and you were in sequester probably for like a week or so beforehand. So basically, like, 2, almost 3 months, you're gone. When you come out, was there anything that really shocked you?
There was the plane disappearing.
Oh, that was big.
Yeah, they still haven't found that?
No,
What the
right?
hell happened? It just disappeared?
Brian, they didn't find the plane, right?
No, it's presumed that it's at the bottom of the ocean somewhere.
Oh, well, that sucks. The plane disappearing, but honestly, when you're in there, you think you're missing out on so much, but then you come out and everything's kind of the same still. So, TV shows, yeah, I was bummed out for missing Game of Thrones, The Challenge, Walking Dead, Survivor. I was kind of bummed out that I like missed all that.
Wow. I know you miss TV when I think that when I did Survivor both, I don't think we missed anything. I'm trying to think if there was anything big to happen. But then sometimes you have seasons like Big Brother 2, they had 9/11 and stuff like that. So, but it's just mostly like celebrity gossip you miss out on.
There wasn't even that much celebrity gossip that I missed out on. I was trying to look stuff up because I thought Justin Bieber would have been like deported and like Kesha would be dead, but everyone's still alive, just hanging out.
Maybe next season. Maybe next season. All right, this is from Turtle Dove wants to know, Neda, if you were Ica, would you have ripped up the letters?
Okay, Aika was in a position where she was going home. There was no way to kind of save her. Even if you guys didn't see this, but when we were sitting on the couches, before she even started ripping everyone apart, everyone was telling her kind of to take the money because she was going home anyways. But if I was in her position and I knew for sure I was going home, I would rip the letters, take in the money. But if it was me out there and I was in the safe position that I was in the house, I would have 100% given the letters to people.
Hundo?
Hundo.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was such a great TV moment, though.
Best moment ever this season, I think. I was laughing. Okay, even when we were sitting around the couches, like watching her on the TV, I was like laughing because she was saying the funniest things ever. She was out in that backyard, I swear, for like an hour, just ripping everyone apart, pointing at Andrew's picture, just ripping him apart. And I was like laughing, and I look around and everyone's crying, and I'm like, oh shit, well, maybe I should stop laughing. And then I got home and I watched it, and I cried, just laughing my head off. That's actually my favorite Big Brother moment so far. And the best person that could have won that was Aika. No one else would have been as entertaining.
How much of the show have you watched so far?
All of it.
Oh, you watched the whole thing.
After finale night, I went back to the hotel and I watched the final episode like that night, an hour after I was like evicted.
Yeah, and what was that like? Did that help or did that make you more angry?
No, it makes me angry. Yeah. There is nothing that's going to help.
All right, let's go to, this is from Callie wants to know, was such a huge fan and your gameplay was awesome, but I have noticed a lot of double standards when it comes to strategic male players versus female players. Why do you think men are praised for lying and backstabbing, but women are ripped apart? But I would have to say that I don't feel like you were ripped apart for lying and backstabbing. Do you see it differently?
No, I was 100% ripped apart. As soon as I started talking about John, and my sister's been keeping up social media and everything for me, so as soon as I started talking about even wanting to get John out, everyone turned on me, especially all the John fans. Everyone turned on me being like, Neda doesn't have loyalty, she's like a bad player, she's a horrible person for wanting her best friend out of this game. It's a horrible double standard, whereas if I was a guy, let's look at Arlie. Arlie turned on his first 5. No one called him an asshole or a bitch, you know, and with me, yeah, it's a huge double standard.
Well, you know, we might be too inside because we you know, deal with all of the reality TV, and I feel like that, you know, 95% of the people in the reality TV community, I feel like, respect that sort of game moves. But probably to the casual watchers of the show, that's probably the kind of stuff that really upsets them.
Exactly. People are praising John now for cutting me at the end, but when I was even talking about doing it, they were, you know, bashing me for it. So it's annoying, but I mean, what can you do? But you're right, it is the casual viewers, because most of the hardcore fans I meet, they appreciate my game, and you're on Big Brother. Of course you're going to lie and backstab people. That's Big Brother. You're not there for honesty camp. You're not there to prove how great of a person you are morally. So you're watching Big Brother.
Brian, what about on Twitter? What was the overall response in the Big Brother community on social media?
Well, you know, Neda's right. Her sister did field a lot of crap, I'm sure, but she did well in handling it, I think. And I mean, I don't know. It seems like there's a certain group of people that think that integrity is one of the things that you have to win with when you go into the game, and it is more kind of the casual viewer. I mean, like the hardcore viewer that's been watching it for years has got all these fans and all these examples of like great moves that can go down, and so I don't know. I mean, there's just a different point of view. People like their own players, right? They like certain people, and then they get emotionally invested in the game. It's a game unlike any other where they can watch live feeds 24/7 and just like immerse themselves in it. But when their favorite player starts, you know, they're going to get backstabbed, they get emotionally involved and want to lash out at whoever's available. So it's understandable, yet unfortunate in a way, but it's what it is, and we love the game.
Neda, are you going to watch Big Brother 16 live feeds, or is that going to be too fresh in your mind?
No, I'm definitely going to watch it.
Do you normally watch Big Brother live feeds?
Pardon me?
Will you typically watch Big Brother live feeds during the Big Brother season?
Yeah, last season of the Canada one, I was constantly watching live feeds. Like when I met Emmett and Jill, I'm like, I'm so sorry, I'm such a creep, but I watched you guys like 24/7 last season. I know everything about you. Like,
What about in the U.S. version? Do you watch the U.S. Big Brother live feeds?
the US one, I read the update blogs that like when they tell you like what happens every day, and then they put videos and stuff. So no, I don't watch the full-on live feeds for the US
Were
one.
you guys mindful of all the controversy that surrounded the Big Brother 15 cast on the live feeds?
Oh, of course. Like, yeah, that was the big thing that happened with the Big Brother 15 cat. So I knew about it. Most people knew about it. Yeah. I think a lot of people were trying to watch what they were saying in our house because of that too.
Yeah. I'm sure it's going to be very much top of mind for the people in Big Brother 16 as well, and I wonder if they're going to read them the riot act before they go into the house. I don't know.
Neda was one of those people in the house that proactively engaged people when they said questionable things in front of her, so I applaud her for that. Good
job, Neda.
And I wasn't just doing that for cameras either, but like when people say stuff, I just, yeah.
No, I get that. This is from the Wipeout 2001. What thing did you miss in the house other than family and friends? Is there anything in particular that you couldn't live without in the Big Brother house?
Google. Google is a really tough thing to live without because we were always like, your brain goes to mush in that house. You can't remember anything. It took us, I think, 2 or 3 days to remember Glenn's name from Walking Dead, and it was bugging every single person in there. And like normal life, you just go and you Google it. There was another time when we couldn't remember the Dementors' names from Harry Potter, and we begged Big Brother to tell us what it was, and they finally answered us back and told us that they were called Dementors. So I think Google is the toughest thing to live without.
Why did you need to talk about Glenn from Walking Dead?
Well, I mean, what else do you have to talk about in the house? So me and Arlie were always talking about TV shows, and then we couldn't remember his name.
Yeah. I'm not a big Glenn guy on The Walking Dead.
No? I like him.
Let's go.
He was funnier, though, you know? I wish he filled more.
Yeah. Let's go to Dean M, who wants to know, would Neda have won the last HOH if the last questions were like the BBUS questions? All right, so this was a little bit of a format change, and honestly, I don't remember exactly how it went in Big Brother Canada 1, but typically in the Big Brother Final 3, at least in the U.S. version, it's, okay, Arlie said that his favorite day in the house was A, and did they do that way in Big Brother Canada 1? Yep.
Yeah, Big Brother Canada 1 was the same way. See, this is another thing that bugs me because if I know, usually there's something I have to study for. Like, I knew the entire game that I needed to memorize all the dates and everything, so I was constantly memorizing that. But when it got down to Final 3, I was going based off of what I knew as a fan that last round was going to be. So I kind of stopped studying. I stopped paying attention to things. I stopped going over things in my head. So when the questions started and they were the way that they were, I was kind of shocked. I was like, oh, crap, like I didn't prepare myself for this.
In that Final 3, there was a number of times when John asked to have the question repeated. Did that annoy you at all that he did that? And then I know you did it yourself at least one time. Do you feel like they should have repeated the question, or should they just say it once or twice and then that's it?
I think you should be able to ask them to repeat it once, and that should be enough because maybe he would have messed up not having all that time to count on his fingers by repeating the question over and over again. But as soon as he started asking, then that's when I started asking again as well. So.
Now, when you asked, did you do it to buy time, or you did it? Yeah. Okay. See, I feel like
I knew that's what John was doing it for, so I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it too. But I mean, it didn't pay off for me, so.
I feel like they should ask the question and then repeat the question, and that's it. You don't get to ask for it again.
I agree, but like I can't complain because I started doing the same thing. So.
Okay. And has John told you that that's what he was doing?
No, but it's very blatant to anyone that that's what he was doing.
Chris H wants to know, Neda, why did you write 40 in the instant eviction HOH competition?
I wanted to just lowball it as much as possible, and I put 40. When Arissa asked the question, acorns, at first I'm like, what are acorns? I honestly didn't know, and then obviously like I knew what acorns were after, but I put 40. I just wanted to go as low as possible.
Yeah. Okay. And you came so close to beating Sabrina in that Final 4 challenge.
God. Honestly, at the time, it was annoying because I just wanted to finally get an HOH room. That's what I cared about. I just wanted that HOH room. But I was happy that Sabrina won that HOH because, like I said, my ideal Final 3 was Sabrina and John because I thought I was setting myself up so that no matter what, I was going to go to Final 2. And this made it a lot less difficult that I wouldn't have to be the one to vote out Heather or John. So I was kind of happy that Sabrina won. I was like totally playing it up for the cameras or not for the cameras, for John and Heather, that I was mad. But I just really wanted to win just to get that HOH room. What you guys didn't see, Brian, what was your face about?
A win. What,
I don't know,
what
you
was you talking about?
What you guys didn't
I just
see,
looked shocked.
I put 1,800 first, and then I wiped it. I put 800, wiped it, put 1,000, and then wiped it again and put 800. So I fucked up. I don't really get why Sabrina would put 999. I don't get the logic behind that. But
how dare you say that Sabrina's not logical? How dare you?
Pardon me?
How dare you say that Sabrina's not logical?
Oh, sorry, my bad.
This is a question from NS Jit B. It seems like you needed someone else to talk John out for you, like how Jillian needed someone to take out Emmett. Ian needed somebody to take out Brittany. Rachel needed someone to take out Brendan, etc. With this in mind, is there somebody that you feel like, would it have been better off if you could have had somebody, because it seemed like you were trying to get other people to sort of do that at different points towards the end of the game, right?
Yeah. Well, if Heather or Sabrina had won that HOH or that veto towards the end of the game, they would have gotten out John for me. But like I said, I did want it switched in the beginning. I was thinking about getting John out, like for other people to get him out so he wasn't in the final threes with me. But it got to a point where I switched from that to wanting him to be in that final three. So anytime Heather was about to win the veto or Sabrina was about to win something, I was scared because I wanted John in final three with me.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, the thing about that is you really needed somebody to beat John in some of these vetoes because he ends up winning how many of the last vetoes? He wins at 3 and at 4. Did he win at 5 also?
I honestly can't remember.
Yeah. So the problem is that
I didn't want anyone to beat John at that point. At that point, I was happy with John winning them because I knew he was going to keep me safe. I knew he was going to keep himself safe, and I wanted us two to be in that final three. So at that point, I didn't want anyone else to be able to beat John. Now in retrospect, yeah, maybe.
Is there anybody that you could have had in the final 3 with you that what John would have taken you over? Like, is there anybody that John would have disliked or not wanted to work with, where you could have, even if he won, had both people take you?
It wouldn't have been. John would have never made, and now he would have never made the decision based off of dislike. So the last person that left that could have been good for me would have been if it was me, John, and Arlie. And then they would have both maybe taken me. No, you know what? Arlie wouldn't have taken me because he knew that I was playing a really good game. So maybe John would have taken me over Arlie.
Okay. That would have been a fun season.
That would have been an amazing final 3. Holy crap.
Yeah. Oh, my God. All right. So this is from the RHAP hashtag. This one comes to us. Do you think that if Scott came into the house instead of Allison, would the Paul eviction vote have gone differently? Have you thought about that? If it went a different way, if Scott came into the house instead of Allison?
Well, what was the vote for that? Because really it was, I don't know. Who would Scott have aligned himself with? He would have, Scott would have been a little floater. Yeah, so I think he would have gone with Ika. So yeah, maybe that vote would have gone differently. Maybe.
He would have been in her ear as soon as he went in.
Yeah, no, I think Ika and Scott would have actually gone along really well. Yeah, actually, maybe it would have gone differently, and then Sarah wouldn't have switched her vote either, because Sarah switched because she felt confident that Allison was also voting the way that she was voting. So, yeah. God, we should have brought Scott in. But, I mean, all of that worked out in my advantage anyways, because I got myself to final 3, so.
Okay. Let's take a question from Brian Scally, who wants to know, how does Neda think John would have done had she not been there? Is this a scenario, who would have been the winner? So have you thought about that? If I wasn't even in the house, where would John have been?
If John would have been gone very early on in the game, because even in the second week or so, I had to kind of constantly pull John aside and tell him not to do certain things that were sketching people out a lot about him, because he was talking to a lot of people, and all this information was getting back to Andrew and Kenny, and this is what kind of turned Andrew against John. I think that he might have even been targeted before, like Kyle and stuff. So I think there was a lot of times when I told John how to play the game early on before he kind of learned it himself, where he did, like, his worst thing that he did in the beginning was he paced a lot. He's just one of those people who can't sit still, but he would pace a lot, and it was sketching a lot of people out in the house. So I'd pull him aside and tell him that. Or when he popped out his shoulder, I told him to keep it in the sling for much longer than he needed to, he's the biggest guy in the house. He should have been taken out very early on, but because we played up the fact that his arm was pretty much, useless, he was kept around by people a lot, especially the girls, because I was working with the girls at that point. I was telling them that John wasn't a huge threat to get out because they might have, during Rochelle's HOH, wanted to get out John. So.
Let me ask you the follow-up question then. If John wasn't in the house, how far would you have gotten into the game?
If John wasn't in the house, I would have probably still aligned myself with more physical people. So I would have, let's see, it depends who I aligned myself with, though, because I did need people who would win those physical competitions for me.
You and Kyle, final two?
Me and Kyle, final two. That would have been fun. You know what? Me and Kyle were actually working together in the first week.
But in all seriousness, okay, if John wasn't in the game, do you get as far as you got if it was, put somebody else in the house? Nate is in the house instead of John.
I really don't know. I can't answer that question. I think now looking at it, John and I both benefited from each other's games, and I don't think we would have gotten as far as we did. Neither of us would have gone as far as we did without each other.
Okay. Let's go. Let's take this question from Renell. This is from Renell, who wants to know. Let me take it this way. On the finale, after you were evicted, you told Arissa that you should have kept Adele. What do you think, if anything, would have changed? Do you still feel that way, that you should have kept Adele?
No,
yeah.
Honestly, I don't even remember saying that. I was probably just like going crazy at that point, saying crazy stuff. But no, keeping Adele would have made no difference because John would have still taken Adele over me. John would have taken Adele, Heather, or even Allison over me. Like, yeah.
Okay. What about Andrew and Allison? Are they an item now? Did that end up working out?
That is a question you gotta ask them.
Yeah, I felt like that was kind of like he gave her like a really creepy look at the finale when they were talking about like, I've been waiting for you. Like, it was really intense.
Yeah, I don't know. I was kind of in my own little world during that finale in that jury box, so they had to fix my makeup every 2 seconds because I couldn't stop crying. So I didn't really notice that.
Brian, do you have any insight on this from the Twitter sphere?
I just heard that Allison may have been more impressed by Arlie's poem.
Oh, there you go.
That poem was ridiculous. Holy shit.
Very impressive. Okay, this is from Renelle. She wants to know, do you think that your assumptions about your season being like a previous American season may have hurt your game? For example, expecting the competition to be the same and how the women rarely win over the men. Do you feel like that any of your preconceived notions about Big Brother actually cost you?
The only one that maybe might have hurt me was assuming that that final round in the HOH was going to be the basic luck questions that they ask you about jury and not actual trivia. Because then I would have probably kept on studying and kept on going over dates and kept on going over who was evicted when. But as soon as we got to Final 3, I kind of stopped going over these dates. And I have a really bad memory, so the way I did really well in all these trivia questions was constantly going over it in my head. So maybe if I had thought that it was going to be normal trivia, I would have actually been studying a lot more. Okay. So yeah, maybe.
Here's a question from Bees411. The feeds were cut for days before the finale. Is there anything that we missed that wasn't put on the show? Anything, whether it was strategic or a funny moment?
No, honestly, you didn't miss much. The last few days were pretty shitty because I was like feeling extremely depressed because I couldn't decide if I won the final HOH who I was going to take. It was not a clear-cut choice for me at all because at that point I thought I could actually beat John in Final 2. So I was considering taking him just because I didn't want to give Sabrina the money, but I wanted to take Sabrina because it was going to be easier to beat her. So I was like having the last few days in that house. What did you guys miss? There's something that Sabrina keeps saying happened, and that's why she wasn't going to vote for me in the end. Nothing happened. It was just the fact that she kept on saying the second round of that HO, she was almost going to beat me. And if she hadn't messed up on the fourth part of it, she was totally going to beat mine. So finally I snapped at her. I was like, listen, your time was like 50 minutes. Mine was 26. You did not almost beat me. So because of that, I guess she wasn't going to vote for me in the end. So, yeah, Sabrina, the logical player.
Purple Dinosaur wants to know, have you watched the Vampire Diaries finale yet? Are you a big Vampire Diaries fan?
Yes, I am. I have not watched it. I'm assuming somebody dies, but please, nobody tweet anything at me. Me and Sarah are going to spend like an entire day catching up with it. But I have so many TV shows I need to watch. I'm going to become a hermit and just live at home and watch everything.
It's not a bad way to go. It really isn't. All right, and let's take one more from Mallory Beasley, who says, not a question, but thank you, Neda, for representing all of us female superfans out here. Not only were you a badass strategic mastermind, you stood up for feminist, LGBT, and other equality issues whenever those morons started spewing nonsense. We noticed. Keep being epic. All right, so great comment there by Mallory Beasley, and I think a lot of people feel the same way.
Thank you. That actually means a lot to me because I want to go in that house and be myself, and I was hoping people are going to like that, so I'm really happy that people did like my personality in that house. And I was always going to stand up for things that I believed in. Even when people like Andrew were saying shit, I was still going to stand up against it. So,
yeah. Okay. Well, Paul stood up against him, too.
Yeah, well, Paul, who knows what Paul was doing? Was it strategy? Was that really Paul? Who knows?
All right, so you're going to watch a lot of TV. You're going to keep making shirts at, is it pronounced Black and Saint, or is it BLK and Saint?
No, it's Black and Saint, but it's spelled BLK and Saint.
Okay.
Why we did that, I don't know.
blackandsaint.com is the way to go for to see what you're up to there?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And follow Neda on Twitter. What are you at Neda BB Can?
Yes.
Okay, that's pretty good, pretty succinct. I like that. All right, so Neda, first off, thank you very much for coming on with us. Really appreciate it. And I feel like we are really getting very close to Big Brother US kicking off. That we are exactly less than 4 weeks away from the premiere of Big Brother 16.
I am so excited. I'm going to be so jealous of everyone in that house, but I'm so excited to watch.
Well, Neda, one of the things that we do on robhasawebsite.com is that every summer we play Big Brother live feed bingo. And so what we do is for the people that buy the live feeds through robhasawebsite.com, we send them out a card if they buy it before the season, and they're playing and trying to cross things off their board that happen on the Big Brother live feeds. And this season, the winner is going to get $500. Who gets that? I know you are a designer and a creative person. Could you give us a square for the Big Brother live feed game board? Can you think? And we want it to be very hard this year. We don't want somebody to win in the first week or two. Can you give me something that we could put on our bingo card?
Yeah, of course.
Can you give it to me on the spot, or you want to think about it?
I gotta think.
All right. Well, if you guys have suggestions as well for the Big Brother live feed bingo cards, and everybody's are different, then either post them in the comments on YouTube or on robhasawebsite.com. And if you want to check out the Big Brother live feeds through Rob Has a Website, go to robhasawebsite.com/live feeds. And for more about Big Brother Bingo, go to robhasawebsite.com/bingo. All right. Neda, thanks again for coming on. We really appreciate it. And I hope that you come on and talk about Big Brother 16 with us over the summer.
I would love to.
All right.
I would love to, yeah.
Fantastic. Brian, hang in there. Only a couple more weeks to go.
All right. Thanks a lot.
All right. Enjoy the R&R until we get back, all right? And hopefully we'll have more and more Big Brother content as we get closer and closer, and ultimately as we start to preview the new season. So everybody, have a good one. Take care, and we'll talk to you again soon.